A new national pastime gripped the American people: movies. The first movie theater, the Black Maria, built by Thomas Edison in 1893, helped begin the development of movies. Americans frequently visited the cheap Nickelodeon theaters, where they were able to watch short Western films, comedies, travelogues, and melodramas. Viewers were attracted to the low price of matinees, which usually ran for 25 cents, and cheaper films that ran for 10 cents. By 1924, because of cheaply priced shows, the weekly national attendance was over 50 million and would continue to rise each year. New York specifically was taken over by large film studios like Paramount, MGM, Fox, Universal, and Warner Brothers. Their films compared to small studios showed expensive and lengthy movies. This new enterprise was unique because it was controlled mostly by immigrants who were one of the first to try this new national pastime. Men such as Adolf Zukor, once Fairman, later head of Paramount Studios, Samuel Goldwyn of MGM, former glove salesman, and William Fox of Fox Pictures, who started as a garment cutter. These studios created bee's knees movies of that time, for instance The Kid, The Phantom of the Opera, Metropolis, and The Gold Rush. Each of these studios controlled not only hundreds of theaters across the United States, but also created nationwide film stars that would shape the lives of their viewers.
Charlie Chaplin was a comedian during the 1920s who was considered the big cheese of the silent movie period. He was born in London in 1889 and died in 1977. Chaplin had a rough childhood. His father was a drunken ragamuffin, and his mother had to raise him and his brother until she was sent to an asylum when Chaplin was 7. Before she was taken away, his mother was forced to take small stage jobs in order to feed her children. Her career came to a halt when her singing voice cracked during a performance and the audience cruelly laughed her off stage. Charlie, then 5 years old, was appalled by her humiliation and took his mother's place to finish her act. This was Chaplin's first introduction to the stage. By the end of World War I, he was the most famous star in the world. Chaplin used mime, slapstick, and other visual comedy routines and continued well into the era of talkies. The name of his first Keystone comedy was Kid Auto Races at Venice in 1914. Chaplin's most famous role by far was as the little tramp in the silent drama called The Kid. By his 12th film, Caught in the Rain, he was directing himself. He was billed as the world's greatest comedian, and according to the American Film Institute, Chaplin was ranked as the 10th greatest American screen legend of all time. John Barrymore was another rising star during the 1920s. He was born in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, and lived from 1882 to 1942. He and his brother Lionel were the first in a long line of famous Barrymore family members. John started off acting in plays and landed mostly comical roles. His performance in The Fortune Hunter in 1909 started his career on Broadway. His most famous and ambitious Broadway roles were Shakespearean plays, including Richard III and Hamlet. He was most likely convinced into giving films a try because of economic necessity and because he disliked touring the United States for play performances. During the period of his greatest theatrical acclaim, Barrymore starred in multiple silent films with modest success, despite being robbed of his greatest gift, which was his magnificent speaking voice. His first film was An American Citizen in 1914. He ultimately appeared in more than 20 silent films, but was cynical about his work. Fairly early in his movie-making career, his memory started to fail because of his drinking problem. On top of this, he was in desperate need for money, considering the fact that most of his films were unsuccessful, with the exception of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde in 1920.
As the Roaring Twenties progressed, numerous movie stars became famous for their work. Born in Sweden, Greta Garbo was one of the most famous and popular actresses of the time. Many of her movies were filmed with John Gilbert, who she had a relationship with on and off screen. People were fascinated by her and followed her life not only in the movie screens, but also in magazines and gossip columns. Some of the most famous movies she acted in are Love, A Woman of Affairs, and Flesh and the Devil. She also starred in Ibanez's Torrent. A New York Times article from 1926 states, "In this current effort, Greta Garbo, a Swedish actress who is fairly well known in Germany, makes her screen bow to American audiences. As a result of her ability, her undeniable prepossessing appearance, and her expensive taste in fur coats, she steals most of the thunder in this vehicle." Garbo was a star. She was easy to tell apart even in the early stages of her career. She received outstanding reviews and captured the spotlight. Over time, she changed from only doing silent films to talkies. Her first talkie was Anna Christie, which was filmed in 1930. Greta heavily influenced acting and brought on a lot of public attention. She was the bee's knees. Another widely known female actor of the 1920s is Clara Bow. She was frequently called the "it girl." She had an ability to play many different parts. The movie Man Trap put her on the map. She was a symbol for liberated women. Bow showed that working women could be successful and beautiful. She was able to help change Americans' views of women. Bow used her beauty to gain attention and boost her acting career. She also made a lot of dough, about $35,000 a week. However, the stress and pressure of the business led to her downfall and ultimately her retirement from the movie business.
Quickly, the time of silent film faded and the sound started to dominate the studios when Warner Brothers successfully produced the first film with sound, The Jazz Singer. This created even more success for the Hollywood stars who were pushed into the limelight by their fans. They became the center for gossip and models for lavish consumption. Americans turned to film stars and their movies for fashion, hair, interaction with people. Movies generally emphasized the power of the youth, sexual themes, athletics, and wealth, creating a debate over sexual morality during the 1920s. States started creating censorship boards over films, but Hollywood struck back with their own form of censorship. They hired Will Hayes to head Motion Picture Producers and Distribution of America and defend against censorship laws for the movie business. With victory in hand, the studios were able to produce questionable movies that would linger in the minds of their viewers and cause them to question previously accepted ideas. The new national pastime, films, shaped the young American people's lives during the 1920s. The large film studios like Paramount, MGM, Universal, Fox, and Warner Brothers held in their hands immense power over the viewers. Their films questioned previous domestic morals with sexual themes, as well as the way their stars lived lavishly.